7 months pregnant, I went to book a postnatal care center. During the contract signing, the staff member, after entering the information, looked at me strangely and said, "Ms. Sue, the system shows that your husband registered with us 6 months ago. The spouse is clearly not you." I was stunned, confused, and showed our wedding photo with John Smith as proof. The staff member rolled her eyes and directly pulled up the information page. "Mr. Smith has been married for 5 years and has 2 children already. This is their marriage certificate and a photo of them at the postnatal care center." In the photo, my husband was holding a child, surrounded by an unfamiliar woman. The two were behaving intimately and affectionately, like a couple deeply in love. And the man on the marriage certificate was indeed my husband. If they are husband and wife, then who am I? 01 Mr. Smith's wife is a VIP member here. It's unbelievable that someone dares to try to take advantage of us. Get out! We don't serve shameless pregnant women here. The receptionist looked at me with disdain, and without waiting for an explanation, kicked me out. By the time I came to my senses, the doors of the postnatal care center were already closed. I was filled with confusion, recalling the marriage certificate photo and information I had just seen. It was clearly my husband, John Smith's face, his information, and his name, but I didn't recognize the woman in the photo at all. Why would John Smith hide the fact that he was already married from me? The more I thought about it, the angrier I became. I couldn't wait to call John Smith and confront him. But the phone kept showing as temporarily unavailable, and after sending countless messages that went without a trace, I remembered that he was on a business trip overseas and should be busy with work right now. The company was planning to expand its international business, hoping to prepare for a company IPO in the future. John Smith's trip was to sign a very important agreement, and if he could successfully secure it, the company would reach a new level. Unable to reach John Smith, I could only temporarily suppress my emotions and wait for him to give me an explanation. If I confirmed it was true, I would make him pay. Just then, John Smith finally returned my video call. "Honey, I was handling work just now and didn't have time to check your messages." The camera turned on, revealing a familiar face. John Smith, wearing a sharp suit, sat in his office, with several unfinished cups of tea steaming beside him, as if he had just finished a meeting. His tired face instantly made me feel a pang of heartache. I was about to ask him how he was doing, but the memory of what I had just seen brought me back to reality. I looked at him and angrily questioned, "John Smith, are you hiding something from me? Are you seeing someone else?" Upon hearing this, the man's face, which was smiling a second ago, turned pale with fright the next. He almost knelt in front of the camera. "Honey, I'm not. I only love you. Besides you, I've never been with anyone else." Afraid that I would misunderstand, he frantically showed me the entire layout of the office, proving that there were no women's items in sight. Who is saying bad things about me behind my back? Is it some rumor released by the media? When I get back, I'll definitely settle the score with them. Honey, you have to believe me. I only love you in this lifetime. Seeing his pale face and helpless demeanor, I relaxed a bit. John Smith and I were college classmates. He fell in love with me at first sight and, after 2 years of secretly admiring me, finally mustered the courage to confess. That day, he held a large bouquet of roses in front of me, stumbling over his words and making a lot of funny mistakes. The boy, who had a noble and aloof face, was actually very shy. The stark contrast made me gradually curious about him. After observing him for half a year, I gradually fell in love with him and eventually chose to be with him. To give me a better life, he chose to start his own business after graduation. In just 2 years, he gradually put the company on the right track, and he never complained about the hardships. And after his success, he gave me all his shares as dowry. I still remember the scene when he proposed to me. He stood in the moonlight and solemnly vowed to me, "I will only recognize you in this life, and all my money is yours. If I ever have a change of heart, you can leave with nothing, and I will never recover." He offered everything he had to me, expressing his sincerity. At that moment, I believed that he was the person I could entrust my whole life to. After we got married, he took care of me in every possible way. He handled and managed all the big and small affairs at home. Everyone around me knew that John Smith was a doting husband who always came home by 7 o'clock. How could a man who loved me so much have a family outside? Thinking about this, the doubts in my heart began to dissipate. Okay, I'll trust you this time. If I find out that you're messing around, you're dead. After his repeated assurances, I finally ended the call, satisfied. With a weight lifted from my heart, I was planning to find another postnatal care center when I suddenly received a call from my assistant. The original person in charge of the company's new product press conference had an accident on the way to the company. Now the company is leaderless, and everyone is in chaos. The assistant couldn't reach John Smith and could only call me for help. This press conference was an important turning point for our company's transformation and absolutely couldn't go wrong. After careful consideration, I decided to go to the company myself and solve the immediate problem. 2 hours later, I arrived at the company on time. The media was ready, but there was no one to host the event. WHE. And the assistant saw me. It was like seeing a savior. I told him to go to the hospital to see the injured person and make sure the employee was okay before returning. After the assistant left, I adjusted my emotions and walked into the conference hall, ready for the press conference. As soon as I entered the conference room, several senior executives saw me and whispered to each other. I assumed they had never seen me before, so I smiled and greeted them, but they avoided me in fear. I didn't mind and, after explaining my identity, was about to announce the start of the press conference when a noise suddenly came from below, and a woman stood up. She took out a marriage certificate and waved it at the camera. "Miss, you say you're the CEO's wife, then what am I?" I was a little stunned. Wasn't this the woman with a marriage certificate with John Smith at the postnatal care center this morning? How did she qualify to attend the John Smith Group's press conference? I didn't recognize the person in front of me, but upon closer inspection, the clothes she was wearing and the jewelry around her neck were all my style. Especially the limited edition bag she was carrying, which John Smith had waited in line for a long time to buy for me. I was furious. Security? What's going on? A large crowd of onlookers poured into the press conference, and the comments online were filled with insults directed at me. Our Holly Green is a famous blogger. Everyone knows how much Holly Green's husband dotes on her. I didn't expect a mistress to be coveting her. So Holly Green was serious when she said she was going to catch a mistress an hour ago? Holly Green's husband is actually the CEO of John Smith Group? Holly Green curled her lips mockingly. She opened the front of the marriage certificate and shoved it in front of the camera. My husband and I have been married for 5 years, and he's with me every day. How would I not know that he has someone else outside? As soon as she finished speaking, her fans, like a pack of mad dogs, wouldn't let me go. I don't know where she got pregnant with a bastard and is trying to climb the social ladder. What a big face! You say you're John Smith's wife, then show us your marriage certificate as proof. Looking like that, doesn't she look in the mirror before leaving the house? Would John Smith fall in love with her? I'm going to throw up. I just found it ridiculous. John Smith and I had a legally protected marriage, and the child in my belly was not a bastard. Please don't slander me. John Smith and I are legally married, and this company was founded by John Smith and me. I opened my phone to find a backup of our marriage certificate, but I couldn't find it. I remembered that I had torn up our marriage certificate in a moment of youthful impulsiveness right after we got it. Now that the child needed to be registered, we were in the process of getting a replacement. As soon as I finished speaking, Holly Green smiled lightly. I knew she couldn't produce it, because I am John Smith's wife. The internet was also filled with a unified front of condemnation. Yes, we've watched Holly Green's account grow to what it is today. John Smith has always been very loving to Holly Green. How could he be interested in someone like that? I was puzzled. John Smith was usually very busy with work, and he spent his free time with me. How could he be having an affair with Holly Green and running a couple account with her? Looking at Holly Green's mocking expression, I angrily questioned, "Your marriage certificate is fake. Forging national documents is a crime." Seeing that I was still stubborn, Holly Green frowned and smiled mockingly. She took out a stack of photos and threw them in my face. They were photos of John Smith from childhood to adulthood, with the two of them growing up together, like childhood sweethearts. The conference room door was pushed open, and a little boy walked in. His eyebrows and eyes were very similar to John Smith's, and even his demeanor was the same. "Mom, who's causing trouble at my dad's company?" He was familiar with the company, as if he came here often, and wasn't shy at all. Immediately, there was an uproar online. "This child looks exactly like John Smith. That's enough proof. Can this mistress please stop destroying other people's families?" Holly Green proudly raised her head, her eyes looking at me as if I were garbage. "Stop dreaming. I am John Smith's wife. You have to recognize reality. Not everyone can become a phoenix by climbing the social ladder." How could this be? How could this child look so much like John Smith? I couldn't help but feel terrified, but when I thought about how attentive John Smith was to me, I felt confused. I frantically called John Smith more than a dozen times, but all went unanswered. "Are you crazy? You're actually allowing someone to bully your wife. Do you want to die? Come out and clarify this quickly, or I'll make you regret it." The blood was boiling in my veins, and I tried to stay calm. John Smith looked tired a few hours ago and should be sleeping and resting now. And his phone was always on silent when he rested, so it was possible that he didn't answer. So, I called Chris Woods, John Smith's best friend, who he had grown up with. He answered quickly, and I put it on speakerphone, my voice sounding more hoarse than ever. "Chris Woods, is John Smith seeing someone else?" Chris Woods was probably still sleeping, but he woke up immediately upon hearing this. "Sister-in-law, who told you that John Smith was cheating? Who's making these accusations? I swear to God, John Smith is definitely not cheating. Sister-in-law, you're his only wife." Hearing this, I finally breathed a sigh of relief. I played the call recording for everyone to hear. Chris Woods was a famous movie star and would definitely not lie for me. For a time, the comments online were divided. "That's Chris Woods. Would he lie? Could this woman really be John Smith's wife? Impossible. Holly Green's child looks exactly like John Smith. He looks like his biological son." I raised an eyebrow. There are many people in this world who look alike, and the human heart is even more deceitful. Who knows if this child had plastic surgery? You can't judge if he's John Smith's child based on his face alone. Seeing that I was still stubborn, Holly Green frowned and smiled mockingly. She took out her phone and made a video call to John Smith, who answered immediately. She projected her phone onto the big screen at the press conference, and the next second, John Smith's face appeared before my eyes. I was very familiar with that face, as it was with me every day. He didn't answer my calls but answered Holly Green's call instantly. I felt a surge of anger and dizziness. He better clarify this mess as soon as possible, or I would never let him off easy when he got back. But the next second, I was stunned. John Smith's voice was very gentle. "Honey, what are you doing?" The little boy ran over and sweetly called out, "Daddy." John Smith's lips curled up. "Have you been listening to Mommy at home?" The little boy nodded and frowned as if he had thought of something. "Yes, but there are always people making Mommy angry. Today, a woman insisted that Mommy was a mistress and embarrassed her in public." Hearing this, John Smith's eyes flashed with surprise, but it was quickly covered by anger. What kind of riffraff dares to cause trouble at John Smith Group? My only wife is Holly Green. Holly Green, fight back. I'll support you. As he spoke, Holly Green rushed in front of me and slapped me hard across the face. "I've been tolerating you again and again, but I didn't expect you to go too far. Now that I've proven myself, you should admit it, right?" I stood there stunned, my face pale. How is this possible? He's definitely N.O.T. John Smith. John Smith would never treat me like this. "Give me the phone. I want to ask him what's going on." I reached out to snatch the phone and confront John Smith alone, but Holly Green didn't give me a chance. Seeing me coming, her face suddenly showed a trace of panic. She hurriedly backed away and then scolded me angrily. "What are you doing? This is my husband. You're resorting to violence because you can't argue anymore? Security? Where's the security? Get this bitch out of here." The scene was in chaos. The security guards came over to take me away, and I clutched my stomach and looked at them. I'm pregnant. If you dare to touch me, you'll be responsible for any accidents. The security guards saw that I was pregnant and stopped in their tracks, looking at me with a troubled expression. Miss, this is a press conference. Please leave. I was furious. Are you blind? Can't you see who's causing trouble? I didn't know what Holly Green was up to. Although the face in the video was John Smith's, technology was so advanced now. AI face synthesis was also possible. Unless I saw the living person in front of me, I would never believe it. While I was thinking, I suddenly thought of someone who could prove my identity. That's right. My mother-in-law can prove my identity. I frantically took out my phone and was about to call my mother-in-law, but I turned off the screen when I saw Holly Green. You say you're John Smith's wife, then you must have your mother-in-law's phone number. John Smith is not in the country right now. You can forge as much evidence as you want, but you can't prove that you're his wife. If you have the ability, call your mother-in-law over and see if she recognizes you as her daughter-in-law. My mother-in-law was a famous painter who often appeared around the world. Even if Holly Green had the audacity, she wouldn't be able to find someone to impersonate my mother-in-law. What's more, my mother-in-law was extremely fond of me. As soon as I married into the John Smith family, she gave me the ancestral jade bracelet. Every time we argued, she would take my side and scold John Smith. My mother-in-law treated me like her own daughter, and she even sent me $500,000 when I got pregnant, telling me to buy some supplements to nourish myself. Holly Green curled her lips and spoke with sarcasm. You won't turn back until you hit a brick wall. I guess you don't have it, right? As soon as she finished speaking, she called my mother-in-law, her voice sounding aggrieved. Mom, someone is causing trouble at the company today, insisting that I'm a mistress. You have to come quickly and stand up for me. Holly Green put it on speakerphone, and a very familiar voice came from the other end of the phone. Who dares to touch my precious daughter-in-law? I'll stand up for you right away. Immediately, the comments online were filled with sighs. Stop guessing. Holly Green is definitely the real wife. What mother-in-law would be so affectionate to a fake daughter-in-law? Sue, you're such a bitch. All you think about is climbing the social ladder. She's been slapped in the face so many times, and she's still insisting. Her skin is really thick. I raised an eyebrow. There are many people in this world who look alike, and the human heart is even more deceitful. Who knows if this child had plastic surgery? You can't judge if he's John Smith's child based on his face alone. Seeing that I was still stubborn, Holly Green frowned and smiled mockingly. She took out her phone and made a video call to John Smith, who answered immediately. She projected her phone onto the big screen at the press conference, and the next second, John Smith's face appeared before my eyes. I was very familiar with that face, as it was with me every day. He didn't answer my calls but answered Holly Green's call instantly. I felt a surge of anger and dizziness. He better clarify this mess as soon as possible. Lou, or I would never let him off easy when he got back. But the next second, I was stunned. John Smith's voice was very gentle. Honey, what are you doing? The little boy ran over and sweetly called out, Daddy. John Smith's lips curled up. Have you been listening to Mommy at home? The little boy nodded and frowned as if he had thought of something. Yes, but there are always people making Mommy angry. Today, a woman insisted that Mommy was a mistress and embarrassed her in public. Hearing this, John Smith's eyes flashed with surprise, but it was quickly covered by anger. What kind of riffraff dares to cause trouble at John Smith Group? My only wife is Holly Green. Holly Green, fight back. I'll support you. As he spoke, Holly Green rushed in front of me and slapped me hard across the face. I've been tolerating you again and again, but I didn't expect you to go too far. Now that I've proven myself, you should admit it, right? I stood there stunned, my face pale. How is this possible? He's definitely not John Smith. John Smith would never treat me like this. Give me the phone. I want to ask him what's going on. I reached out to snatch the phone and confront John Smith alone, but Holly Green didn't give me a chance. Seeing me coming, her face suddenly showed a trace of panic. She hurriedly backed away and then scolded me angrily. What are you doing? This is my husband. You're resorting to violence because you can't argue anymore? Security? Where's the security? Get this bitch out of here. The scene was in chaos. The security guards came over to take me away, and I clutched my stomach and looked at them. I'm pregnant. If you dare to touch me, you'll be responsible for any accidents. The security guards saw that I was pregnant and stopped in their tracks, looking at me with a troubled expression. Miss, this is a press conference. Please leave. I was furious. Are you blind? Can't you see who's causing trouble? I didn't know what Holly Gre. and was up to. Although the face in the video was John Smith's, technology was so advanced now. AI face synthesis was also possible. Unless I saw the living person in front of me, I would never believe it. While I was thinking, I suddenly thought of someone who could prove my identity. That's right. My mother-in-law can prove my identity. I frantically took out my phone and was about to call my mother-in-law, but I turned off the screen when I saw Holly Green. You say you're John Smith's wife, then you must have your mother-in-law's phone number. John Smith is not in the country right now. You can forge as much evidence as you want, but you can't prove that you're his wife. If you have the ability, call your mother-in-law over and see if she recognizes you as her daughter-in-law. My mother-in-law was a famous painter who often appeared around the world. Even if Holly Green had the audacity, she wouldn't be able to find someone to impersonate my mother-in-law. What's more, my mother-in-law was extremely fond of me. As soon as I married into the John Smith family, she gave me the ancestral jade bracelet. Every time we argued, she would take my side and scold John Smith. My mother-in-law treated me like her own daughter, and she even sent me $500,000 when I got pregnant, telling me to buy some supplements to nourish myself. Holly Green curled her lips and spoke with sarcasm. You won't turn back until you hit a brick wall. I guess you don't have it, right? As soon as she finished speaking, she called my mother-in-law, her voice sounding aggrieved. Mom, someone is causing trouble at the company today, insisting that I'm a mistress. You have to come quickly and stand up for me. Holly Green put it on speakerphone, and a very familiar voice came from the other end of the phone. Who dares to touch my precious daughter-in-law? I'll stand up for you right away. Immediately, the comments online were filled with sighs. Stop guessing. Holly Green is definite. Ely the real wife. What mother-in-law would be so affectionate to a fake daughter-in-law? Sue, you're such a bitch. All you think about is climbing the social ladder. She's been slapped in the face so many times, and she's still insisting. Her skin is really thick. I looked at Holly Green in disbelief, but she shook her phone at me. Even my mother-in-law has confirmed that I'm John Smith's wife, and you still don't believe it. I clenched my fists, my chest churning, my shoulders trembling uncontrollably. Mom, I'm Sue. I'm your daughter-in-law. How can you help someone who's not who they seem to be? Before I could finish, Holly Green took the phone back. She waved her hand and slapped me across the face. What are you yelling about? Who allowed you to call my mom? Holly Green's voice was filled with grievance. She whined to her mother-in-law, Mom, please come to the company and help me prove my identity, otherwise there will always be bitches who want to climb the social ladder. The person on the other end must be someone else impersonating her. I took out my phone and sent my mother-in-law a message on WeChat. I briefly described what happened today, hoping that she could come to the company to prove my identity. My mother-in-law replied quickly, saying that she would drive over immediately. Knowing my mother-in-law's temper, Holly Green would definitely be kicked out of the company by my mother-in-law. As long as I waited for my mother-in-law to arrive, the truth would be revealed. Not long after, my mother-in-law's car stopped at the entrance. She got out of the car, walking slowly because she was leaning on her signature walking stick. Seeing that the person who came was really my mother-in-law, a weight lifted from my heart, and I hurried forward to help her. Mom, you're finally here. Quickly explain to them that I'm your daughter-in-law. I don't know when this woman appeared, with a child, saying that she's a John Smith family dog. Her in-law. They've been bullying me together just now. You must not let them off easily. 5. My mother-in-law took off her glasses and looked at me, scrutinizing me for a few minutes before breaking into a familiar smile. I breathed a sigh of relief. Thankfully my mother-in-law could prove my identity. I looked at Holly Green, my eyes filled with determination. This time, I would definitely ruin her reputation. But the next second, my mother-in-law pushed my hand away and walked towards Holly Green, affectionately calling her daughter-in-law. Then she looked at me, a mocking smile on her lips. I know you were the one who secretly got into my son's bed. At that time, you weren't pregnant yet, and my son didn't wanting to help you get dressed and send you away. I didn't expect you to be so indiscriminate, even wanting to have a relationship with the butler of the villa. The atmosphere froze instantly, and I stood there stunned, my eyes filled with disbelief. How could it be? You must be fake. The comments online were shocked by my reaction. How shameless can she be, not only suspecting that her husband is fake, but also suspecting that her mother-in-law is fake, so she's the real one? So the child in her belly is a mutt, but she has the audacity to want to climb the social ladder? My mother-in-law raised her hand and brushed back her bangs, revealing a transparent scar on her forehead. I remembered the source of this scar. It was the mark left when my mother-in-law accidentally bumped into the counter on our wedding day. How could the fake mother-in-law have this? This fake woman must be someone close to my mother-in-law, so she observed her so closely. The old woman walked in front of me, she raised her hand, and a slap landed heavily on my face. What, real or fake? I don't know that I have a daughter-in-law who's sleeping around everywhere. My only daughter-in-law is Holly Green, daring to bring an unknown bastard and try to confuse our John Smith family's bloodline. Some people are really cheap. I shouted in despair. Impossible, absolutely impossible. My mother-in-law has always been good to me, she would never say such a thing. You're definitely fake. I remembered that I had a high fever some time ago, and John Smith was away on a business trip, and it was my mother-in-law who fed me medicine spoon by spoon, and even stayed up with me for several nights. Since I got pregnant, I had morning sickness and couldn't eat, and it was my mother-in-law who took care of me, thinking of ways to make the food I love to eat. My mother-in-law has always been refined and would never say such slanderous words in public. How could everything have changed now? I was calling 911, now only the police could prove my identity. Sweat dripped from my forehead, and I frantically took out my phone and was about to call the police when my mother-in-law knocked my phone out of my hand. You lowly woman, do you know that our John Smith family is at a critical stage of development right now? You're doing this to try to kill my son? My mother-in-law was right, the John Smith family was facing a severe problem right now. I couldn't help but feel a little scared. Thankfully I didn't call the police just now, otherwise it would have dragged John Smith into the whirlpool of public opinion. My mother-in-law was usually gentle and would never scold people. I became even more certain of my thoughts. You must be fake. I will definitely expose your disguise. As soon as I finished speaking, Holly Green couldn't hold back any longer. She rushed up and started fighting with me. You actually dare to covet my man again and again. Believe it or not, I can make you and your bastard disappear with a flick of my fingers. As soon as she finished speaking, the bodyguards my mother-in-law brought surrounded me. They kicked and punched my limbs, and I could only try to protect the child in my belly. While I was thinking, Holly Green grabbed my hair and slapped me across the face several times. Even if you die, the most it will do to us is pay some money. Security, quickly throw this bitch out. I was protecting the child in my belly, but Holly Green pushed me heavily to the ground. My mother-in-law rushed over and kicked my stomach, and she wasn't satisfied, so she clenched her fists and punched my chest. You bitch, I've been putting up with you for a long time. I must let others see your slutty face. A sharp pain came, and I tried to curl up, but she lifted my hair and slapped my face hard. She cursed, shameless thing, daring to get into my son's bed, you're so cheap. Daring to destroy my son's happiness, go to hell. I cried in pain, but facing so many people beating me, I had no power to fight back. The next second, I felt a stream of heat flowing from my lower abdomen, and a piercing pain swept through my body. I screamed, my child is gone. Call 911. My mother-in-law stood aside with her arms folded. It's good that the bastard is gone, a cheap woman trying to bring a child into the family. Why don't you go die? Holly Green slapped me even harder. Shameless thing, a lowly person like you. It's okay if your child is gone. If you dare to cry, I'll have the security throw you into the mountains. The next second, the door of the conference room was kicked open. I heard John Smith's voice. He roared angrily, "Stop it, let go of my wife." Everyone stopped cursing and looked at the man outside the door. Seeing John Smith walking in, Holly Green ran up to him crying, burying her head in John Smith's arms. Honey, you're finally here. Do you know that there was a cheap thing just now, insisting that she was your wife? But before she could finish speaking, John Smith pushed her aside. Are you worthy of being my wife? My only wife is Sue. You shouldn't have laid a hand on my Sue. The comments online went crazy. Holly Green is actually fake? I didn't expect this twist. Let's wait and see, maybe John Smith has 2 wives, and the result is favoring the mistress and neglecting his wife. They all say so in CEO novels. Holly Green's eyes were filled with fear. How is it possible? John Smith, I should be your wife. She's just an imposter. John Smith coldly swept over her and my mother-in-law, and hurried over to pick me up. His voice was anxious. I'm sorry, Sue, it's all my fault. My whole body was shaking with pain, as if I had suddenly unloaded a burden, and all the pain was pouring out. Why does my mother-in-law recognize her? Why does she have your child? Why do you two have a marriage certificate? Why did you accompany her to the postnatal care center? Give me an explanation. I cried sadly, and John Smith held my shoulders tightly, burying his head in my neck. It's all fake. I only have you in my heart. Sue, don't you understand my feelings? I pointed at the 2 people standing beside me, my fingers trembling with anger. Call the police. Help me call the police. You have to help me get justice. I thought John Smith would take out his phone and call the police, but I didn't expect him to lower his head. Sue, now is the crucial stage for John Smith Group. Can you not call the police? I only felt a fire burning in my heart. Not call the police? Then who will get justice for me? John Smith, do you have a heart? I'm your wife. My child is also gone because of these 2 people, and you're not letting me call the police. I tried to break free from him, but he held me tightly in his arms. I'm sorry, Sue. Just help me this time, and I'll do whatever you want in the future. Please, Sue, I'll definitely find a doctor to save our child. For the first time, I doubted John Smith's feelings for me. How could he tolerate his wife being hurt so much and still be able to sit idly by? Is this how it is with John's group in its development phase? Do I just have to swallow this injustice? Seeing John Smith protecting Holly Green, who's definitely not a pushover, she ran up to me, taunting, I told you, I've been with John Smith for a long time, and I even had 2 kids with him. Go ahead and call the cops if you dare, see if they protect me or you. John's mother chimed in, John Smith, you're wrong here. Holly was the first to know you. How can a newcomer take precedence? Besides, Holly has already given you 2 children. No matter what, you should side with Holly. Holly Green's son ran to John Smith's side, shaking his arm, with tears in his eyes. Dad, are you sure you want to abandon me and Mom? Yesterday you said you wanted a little sister. I finally understood everything, and my eyes were filled with disappointment as I looked at John Smith. John Smith, is this the loyalty you told me about? So, in the end, I'm the mistress? You've been hiding this from me so well. The Sues have been prominent for generations. How could I be so foolish to be deceived into being a third party? Holly Green wore a contemptuous smile. You finally realize you're the mistress? Let me tell you, I am John Smith's true love. You bitch, should give up as soon as possible. I remember when we were little, John Smith would always take me out to play. He said he would definitely marry me in the future, and sure enough, I really am his wife. Some people knowingly become a mistress, and haven't thought that my husband is so loyal to me. I trembled with anger, tears rolling down my cheeks. All of this was just me deceiving myself, and for a moment I lost the will to live. Holly Green kept rambling on about her childhood stories with John Smith, but it felt like a lump in my throat. The comments also started to turn against me. It's hard to evaluate John Jiang. He's out there having a good time, and then lets a mistress come to the door and bully his wife. The man is the one who should be condemned. Yeah, although John Jiang is real. Why handsome, that's not a reason for him to be unfaithful. When will Holly be able to overthrow John Smith and take control? John Smith was amused by the comments. He stood up and pulled his mother and Holly Green aside. His voice was very low, but I heard every word. I've done what I promised you. I hope you don't push it too far. If you have to make a big deal out of this, I can't guarantee the consequences." Seeing that public opinion was now in her favor, Holly Green deliberately ran her hand over John Smith's body, her eyes full of provocation. "We are husband and wife. Is there a problem with that? I'm telling you, you'll never be able to repay what you owe our family in this lifetime." "Enough." John Smith smiled sarcastically, his voice barely concealing his anger. "How long are you going to keep making a scene?" His mother stood in front of Holly Green, roaring at John Smith. "Why are you yelling at Holly? If you have the guts, yell at the mistress." She turned around to comfort Holly Green. "Holly, it's John Smith's fault. Mom apologizes to you. Don't worry, John Smith will definitely clean up the mistress and give you a satisfactory answer." Her slanted eyes rolled around. "John Smith, you must give us an explanation for this." She emphasized the word explanation, and I sensed something different. Could it be that John Smith has something he can't say? But he shouldn't hurt me. If he really has a weakness in someone else's hands, I will definitely help him find a solution. The comments were getting even more vile. "The scumbag is still protecting the bitch. Isn't he afraid of being cuckolded a lot in the future? That's right, I didn't expect John Jiang to be this kind of person, our poor Holly." John Smith was amused by the comments. He stared at Holly Green, raised his hand, and a slap landed heavily on Holly Green's face. John Smith has always been a smiling tiger, and few people have seen him so angry. The people around him immediately sta. Rude gossiping. Why is he hitting his wife? Is he trying to give up since he can't hide it anymore? I have no good feelings for a cheating bastard who hits women. I really regret ever liking him. John Smith's face was gloomy. "Aunt Susan, I thought you were sensible, but I didn't expect you to be so confused. Do you really think that the reputation of the Jiang family is so important to me? Or do you think your family has done so much for me that I have to listen to you?" His mother instantly lost her arrogant attitude and put her hands on her waist. "What do you mean? What do you want to do?" John Smith walked to my side and carefully took me into his arms. "Honey, I've thought it through. I can't let you endure this unjust grievance. I will definitely give you an explanation." He took out his phone and dialed 911, to Holly Green's shock. His mother pushed the little boy, who quickly ran to John Smith's side and hugged his leg tightly. "Dad, you can't send Mom to jail just because you like that aunt. My sister and I can't live without Dad. Has Dad forgotten that his sister only wants you to hold her?" John Smith violently threw the little boy away, and the little boy flew out, hitting the corner of the table heavily. Blood gurgled from his head, but he kept murmuring, "I believe in my dad. I believe Dad only loves Mom." Holly Green screamed and rushed up, picking up the little boy, feeling hoarse. "John Smith, are you crazy? He's our son. What exactly do you want to do?" His mother's face also changed, and she rushed over distressed. "My grandson, how can you have such a malicious father? Holly, let's take Hao to the hospital quickly." Seeing that his mother wanted to escape, John Smith smiled sarcastically. "Our son? That's a joke. Did we ever have feelings for each other? He should be my brother." Seeing that John Smith was really planning to ruin everything, his mother panicked. "Nonsense, he is your child. If you dare to say anything more, I'll tear your face off." John Smith's cold gaze swept towards his mother. "Stop quibbling. Holly wanted to seduce me, but accidentally climbed into my father's bed. She had a relationship with my father, and my father was unlucky enough to have a car accident with my mother while on a business trip. You used the name of the posthumous child to not only embezzle the Jiang family's property, but also pretended to adopt me, with the purpose of making me the father of Holly's child." His mother was so angry that she wanted to tear John Smith's mouth, but was stopped by the security guard. John Smith continued, his face as cold as could be. "Holly and I were childhood sweethearts. My parents left me at your house when they went on business trips. I remember your family's kindness, so I agreed to this matter. But I didn't expect you to go too far and bully my wife." Holly Green's face turned red with anger. "Don't slander me, it was you who had a relationship with me." John Smith smiled and took out a paternity test report. The test showed that Holly Green's son was indeed John Smith's brother. I was adopted by your family, and Aunt Susan was very good to me. I always wanted to repay Aunt Susan's kindness. So I invited Aunt Susan to my house to live with my wife. She got along well with my wife. I thought Aunt Susan was sensible. I didn't expect her to be so malicious. Holly Green was so scared that she collapsed to the ground. No, no, don't say it, I beg you, don't say it. Looking at Holly Green's trembling appearance, John Smith's face was gloomy, like a demon from hell. In order not to affect the reputation of the Jiang family, I have been tolerating you. But you are too much. The kindness I owed you was repaid when you embezzled the Jiang family's property. Holly Green was frightened and dazed. No, no. The one who slept with me was obviously you. How could it be your father? You're talking nonsense, you just don't want to take responsibility. John Smith protected me behind him, and the police car arrived in time. They arrested Holly Green and his mother. The comments exploded at this time. Oh my God, is this the secrets of wealthy families? Seducing the son but ending up sleeping with the father. Fortunately, John Jiang came back, otherwise Miss Sue would definitely be dead. We were helping Holly Green earlier. I can't imagine how devastated Miss Sue must have been. Oh my God, Holly Green is so vile. She actually wanted to take over by this method. Fortunately, she didn't sleep with John Jiang, otherwise whoever ended up with her would be unlucky. The little boy knelt in front of John Smith, unable to imagine that the father he was so proud of was fake. Dad, it's all my mom's fault, blame her if you want. I am a descendant of the Jiang family, and I should have a share in the company. John Smith's gaze was indifferent as he swept towards the child who was not related to him by blood. This company is wholly owned by your sister-in-law. Give up that idea as soon as possible. John Smith sent the 2 people who hurt me to prison, and then sent Holly Green's 2 children to the orphanage. I heard from the police that this incident was a deliberate revenge by Holly Green. She couldn't stand seeing me living happily, so she wanted to take my place. His mother advised her, but she insisted on doing things her own way. In the end, having no choice, his mother didn't want her daughter to have a bad reputation, so she had to take the risk with her. Holly Green was sentenced to 3 years for intentional injury, and his mother, as an accomplice, was sentenced to 1 year. Holly Green went crazy in prison. She always thought she was the CEO's wife of Jiang's group. She not only beat others at will in prison, but also ordered others to help her work. In the end, she was beaten badly and suffered permanent disability. And because I was sent to the hospital in time, the baby in my belly was saved. Because I had been abused, I suffered serious psychological and physical trauma and had to move into the hospital early to give birth. John Smith was afraid that something like this would happen again, so he specifically posted our wedding photo on the official blog. Fortunately, I had John Smith's meticulous care, so I was able to give birth smoothly. After Holly Green was released from prison, she often wandered around in front of my house. Whenever I wanted to find a security guard to drive her away, she would bite back. I was a little scared, so I took special precautions. Maybe the time had dragged on for too long, she finally couldn't help it. When I went to the garage alone to get the car, she walked towards me with a knife. Seeing me backing away in fear, Holly Green's face wore a determined smile. You bitch, if it wasn't for you, I would have been with John Smith long ago. It's all your fault, you made me never see my 2 children again. As long as you die, John Smith can only be mine. Die. Her knife stabbed towards me, and was about to pierce my stomach. At the critical moment, John Smith rushed over and kicked the knife away. He protected me in his arms and kicked Holly Green out. You still dare to be so stubborn? Holly Green's eyes were red with anger. It's all your fault. Why can't you accept me? Even if the child isn't yours, I like you. John Smith was speechless by her sophistry. Just as he was about to call the police, his mother stopped John Smith. Please, my daughter is still young, she really can't go to jail again. Please, for the sake of how good our Jiang family was to you, can you be lenient? John Smith ignored his mother and resolutely dialed the police. To his mother's shock, he exported the monitoring video and handed it over to the police. I already know the cause of my parents' death. This time, I will definitely make you spend the rest of your life in prison. It turned out that the death of John Smith's parents was planned by Holly Green's parents. His mother and Holly Green were imprisoned again. This time, both were sentenced to life imprisonment. John Smith took me to settle in another city. In the early morning, looking at his son sleeping soundly in his arms, I kicked John Smith out of bed. It's all your fault for attracting bad relationships, causing my son to not stay in my belly long enough. Don't come on my bed again in the future. John Smith climbed onto the bed and hugged me tightly. As long as you are always with me, I'm willing to be your punching bag forever.